forward in workplace productivity, unlocking potential and enabling impactful work. As we refine and expand Zoom IQ's capabilities, collaboration will become more seamless, more productive, and far more fulfilling than ever before. Say you have a go-to-market meeting and you have to collaborate with your colleagues on a product launch. You can simply open a whiteboard session and have Zoom IQ generate a list of ideas based on some simple prompts. Once the meeting ends, Zoom IQ can send the meeting summary to Zoom Team Chat with suggested action items for owners to take on. Or sometimes you get stuck in meetings all day and your chat messages have piled up by the time you return. I'm sure you've had that experience. Zoom IQ can help you get the gist of all those meeting chats by providing a summary of the thread. And you will be able to use Zoom IQ Chat Compose to draft a response based on the conversational context and change the message tone to sound like you. That's not all. Since its launch last year, customer-facing teams have been using Zoom IQ for Sales, a conversational intelligence tool to derive meaningful and actionable insights to improve seller performance and enhance customer experiences. Grab, Southeast Asian's super app, is one such customer who has piloted the use of Zoom IQ for Sales to upskill their account managers for the Grab for Business platform. Similarly, your customer experience needs to keep pace or exceed the ever-changing customer demands. This is where our conversational AI platform, Zoom Virtual Agent, comes into play to provide a streamlined customer journey. Customers have the choice to a self-serve via the AI-powered chatbot or escalate the conversation to a live agent seamlessly through intelligent routing capabilities, making their experience more personalized and convenient. As we continue to invest in AI, we are taking a federated approach to leverage our own proprietary AI models, those from leading AI companies such as OpenAI, and select customers' own models. Based on individual consumers' and customers' diverse needs, our goal is to provide flexibility to incorporate and customize multiple types of models that suit your organization. Today, we will share more about how you can drive impact with intelligence, make teamwork more meaningful, and strengthen customer relationships. You'll hear from Smita Hashim, Chief Product Officer at Zoom, and Pascal Bornet, best-selling author and expert on intelligent automation, about how generative AI technologies can positively impact customer and employee happiness. Then, join a panel of experts to learn about how companies like yours can use AI to evolve and improve the customer journey. Lastly, you'll gain insights from a customer panel led by Matthew Saxton, Chief People Officer at Zoom, on how to balance company culture with automation. To kick off the Work Transformation Summit APAC, please join me in welcoming Smita Hashim.
Hello, and welcome to the Work Transformation Summit. We offer this event several times a year to explore what's happening at the intersection of technology innovation and the future of work. It is a resource to help you navigate what's new and strategize what's next for your organization. I am glad we get to spend time together to talk about some of the things on all of our minds. There is a lot going on in our lives, the world, and our world of work. What we have gone through together over the past few years has profoundly changed all of us. And it has changed many things about how our businesses work. Studies show that while most of us like the flexibility of hybrid work, we are feeling a lack of connections, blurring of work-life boundaries. Maybe you are back in the swing of things and your day-to-day is feeling normal. Or maybe you are still trying to find your balance and ways to move forward. Or maybe, like me, you are experiencing a little of both. Regardless of where you are in that process, we are all inundated with an unbelievable amount of data and information. Statistics show that 90% of all the data in the world was generated in the last 2 years. Think about it. And it's coming to us from a lot of different directions. That's a lot to juggle. But there is also profound opportunity as a result of it all. I know that sometimes it can be hard to imagine the upside when you are in the middle of change, but these are some of the most remarkable times I have witnessed in my entire career. When I was in school, I chose the topic of video compression for my PhD thesis because I found it so full of potential. It has been said that a minute of video is worth 1.8 million words. And as a first generation immigrant mother, I, like many of you, had to navigate the inflexible boundaries of work, daycare, school schedules, while trying to get where I needed to go on packed Silicon Valley freeways where it seemed everyone was on the road at the same time. What I wouldn't have given for flexible remote work back then. Over the years, as a product leader, I have had the opportunity to work on generations of video communication tools. Before the pandemic, forward-thinking organizations were seeing an ongoing but modest increase in video communications for work. And look at where we are now. There is universal acceptance of video communications. Nearly everyone agrees that the new flexible ways of working that the pandemic thrust on us are here to stay. This acceptance of video communications and hybrid work is a silver lining to the terrible times of the pandemic and hopefully will continue to benefit each and every one of us as human beings as we try to get more out of life. Just like the evolution and accelerated growth of video communications and hybrid work, we are seeing massive movement forward with AI. Generative AI, it is fascinating, isn't it? AI is the hot topic right now across industries, and I can see why. I love new technology that benefits people. I have been playing with ChatGPT and Bard. The cogent answers I get from them on any question I ask and the easy, powerful conversational experience is delightful. There's so much potential for generative AI to help reduce stress, increase productivity, and ultimately deliver better business outcomes. The promise of it seems limitless for truly transforming the way we collaborate and work. But let us take a moment to step back and look at the big picture. While I am really excited about the potential of large language models, and I'm inherently a technology optimist, I'm also exercising a lot of caution. Though I love my conversations with ChatGPT and Bard, I know not to trust them completely or take them at face value. I fact check using my previous tried and true methods because the generative AI answers are often inaccurate while appearing highly credible. This can put businesses at great risk. All this innovation and adoption of generative AI is happening at lightning speed, along with the hype that comes along with it. So how do you cut through all the noise to extract the value of these large language models? How do you use AI to enhance human connection while recognizing its limitations and exercising caution? You must first untangle the massive amount of speculation and hype to understand the benefits and the risks. Every step of the way, you must think about the effect of AI on humans, organizations, data, and your assets. From that place, we can make smart choices that positively impact your employees, customers, businesses, and the world at large. We at Zoom are incredibly intrigued about the potential of generative AI. AI is already woven throughout our collaboration platform, from our invention of virtual backgrounds in meetings to closed captions and auto-generated summaries in Zoom IQ for Sales, and many more offerings. Our product teams are rapidly moving ahead, bringing multiple innovations powered by generative AI directly to you. We are doing this through the expansion of Zoom IQ to help you compose emails, generate chat summaries, organize whiteboards, as well as many other solutions. However, we recognize that some of the output from these large language models won't always be accurate. Therefore, our design team is taking the thoughtful approach of making sure users are able to guide the final output. For example, users have the ability to review and edit AI-generated meeting recaps. This human-centered approach is how we can bring the power of generative AI while being mindful of some of its limits. Recognizing the quickly evolving nature of the AI landscape, we are taking a federated approach. This federated approach means that a platform will incorporate Zoom's proprietary AI models and those from leading AI companies such as OpenAI, and customers who wish will be able to leverage their own models as well. Zoom IQ results can be further customized to understand your unique brand attributes, your vocabulary for better performance. With this approach, we are able to evolve our solutions and deliver the best possible outcomes as the models and their providers evolve. This is a profound moment in history. We are deeply aware that this incredible surge in AI innovation and the tremendous potential it offers across industries, while exciting, is also cause for apprehension, and rightfully so. It is critical to be highly intentional, responsible, and thoughtful in how we approach these applications. That is why Zoom is approaching this next wave of AI technology the way we do everything, with care, with mindful awareness, and to empower you to save time so you can have more meaningful connections and collaboration opportunities. Now, to help you think through what all of this means for you, I'm excited to talk with best-selling author Pascal Bornet, an award-winning expert in AI and automation. Pascal is an industry thought leader and spiritual guide on AI and keeping the tech human. With more than 1 million followers, we know his words are striking a deep chord. Who better than Pascal to help us learn more as we embark on work transformation with AI? Welcome, Pascal. Great to have you here.
Very happy to be with you today and share my passion with you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. We are all excited to talk to you. So, Pascal, before we begin on the questions, tell us more about yourself.
Of course. Very shortly, I'm coming from 2 decades of consulting at EY and McKinsey. And for both of them, I built their intelligent automation practices, which is basically combining AI and automation to improve knowledge processes in companies. I've been so inspired by what I've been able to do over those 2 decades, helping corporate clients, that I've been very inspired by that, and I'm sharing regularly on social media what those technology can help do for companies, but also for our world. And I've been so inspired by all this that I wrote the first book on the topic, which is called Intelligent Automation, and which talks about all that is possible of doing using those technologies and the impact we can expect for businesses, but also for the world.
Wonderful. Yes, I do have that book. So yeah, and clearly, like, million plus followers are listening to what you are saying and learning and are inspired from it. So you have been a big fan of automation and how and helping sure that users benefit from it, or we as humans benefit from it. So can you just share more about some examples of how you think AI has benefited humans from your experience?
Yes, definitely. And this is really the core of my passion. It's about making the world more human using technology. And very shortly, we can see that the education level, for example, in the world has never been as high as it is now. And this is mainly thanks to technology, with more than 90% of the people receiving forms of education today. Just a century ago, it was less than 20%. So that's for me, that's something amazing. Another amazing point is about health. We've seen over the last century that thanks to technology progress, life expectancy has doubled. Okay. Through a research that I've done while writing my book, I've identified that by a more intensive use of AI and automation, we can save more lives. So we can save more than 10 million lives per year, to make it clear, using technology to support clinical trials, disease diagnosis, to avoid also medical errors. So that's really about making the world more human by saving lives and making education and health better. But also, I think I'm very passionate about something which is improving our lives. And most of us, we spend a lot of time in our lives working. And what we've seen is that more than 85% of the workers are not fulfilled by their work. This is according to recent survey. And what we see as well is that companies that take care of their workers, their employees, are 4 times more profitable than those that don't. I was so passionate about this topic specifically that I did a research and identified that out of the work that we do on a daily basis, about 1/3 of it can be eliminated. Okay. And technology here can help us do that, eliminate the unproductive meetings, unproductive emails, tasks that we just feel we have to do, but don't deliver the impact that we are looking for. 1/3 is about automating those tasks that are boring, those repetitive transactional activities that nobody likes to do. And the last third is about augmenting those activities. And I'm thinking here of fostering collaboration, for example, providing us with predictions, pattern detection, augmenting our decision-making capabilities. So basically, I like to make it to synthesizing all this into one sentence, which is helping us evolve from knowledge workers to insight workers.
I love that. And I know you're a technology optimist, but I'm a technology optimist too. And, so I relate to everything you're saying over here, but maybe this is also a nice segue into generative AI. And, generative AI is all around us. And when you talk about some of the benefits which automation is already providing, what role do you see from generative AI, and how do you think it's changing in the last few months? It feels suddenly things are just in a very different place.
Yes, that has been very exciting. The development in AI have been quite fast over the last decade, but over the last 2-3 years, we were kind of reaching a plateau, and that's really good to see this coming and creating a new dynamic in the AI space. What I really like about generative AI, and I would say especially the large language models, is that it creates a new link with technology that we didn't have before. It helps us to have this interface, this discussion with technology, which basically creates a better access to more people. You don't need to be technical. You don't need to have the skills, coding skills, and other technical skills to work with technology and to get the impact from it and to build technology, actually. So that I think is really one of the great benefits of using generative AI through large language models. And I've seen some great use cases working with companies just across those last few months. Sales and marketing, for example, using large language model to generate personalized messages for their clients. Finance team that was capable of digesting hundreds of pages from financial reports of their subsidiaries. Or I've seen as well performing some scenario analysis in finance using large language model. I'm seeing a human resource department creating personalized training for their people. So that has been amazing. I'm using it personally on a day-to-day basis. You know, I write a lot. I write articles, and I'm writing my next book currently. And I use ChatGPT specifically to accelerate my research, to rephrase sentences. And I use it as well on a different way than I think the common use. I like to ask ChatGPT, what do you know about one topic? So, for example, what do you know about how the human brain works? It's going to tell me what usually people think of it, so that regarding the content that I will write or share, I will not stick on that because everybody knows, but I will make sure that I create more value by talking about something that is different from what everyone knows.
Okay. So you quiz ChatGPT further for deeper and deeper insights. Is that how it unfolds?
Exactly. So I know that I because I don't want to talk about common knowledge that everyone knows. Yeah. So I know how to make myself different from it and bring value to the conversation.
Yeah. So you're saying there's some expertise in even extracting value from ChatGPT to get the insights that you want.
Exactly. And that's really a conversation with this technology that helps me to do that. And, but I mean, you know, we've seen all those great, advantages of using this technology, but I mean, I need to point out that there are also a lot of limitations and that there is a lot of hype around all this. But at the end of the day, ChatGPT and the other ones, are just, technology languages. They don't understand what they are talking about. It's a trick. I like to say that it's a magician's trick. You know, it seems to work. It seems to understand us. It seems to communicate with us, but it doesn't know what is a human. It doesn't know what is a star. It doesn't know anything. And it's just collecting the words coming from the web, and through some predictions and calculation, identify which words should come after which word. So it's pure mathematics.
I totally hear you. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, the computational technology is making all of this matching possible in a way, but it's still computing and matching. But like you said, it has limitations, and also, I mean, there is understandable concerns around those limitations, and also about, you know, just like kind of data protection and making sure that companies get to use their assets in ways that continues to accrue value for them. So how do you think, like, when you think about that kind of responsible AI, or, you know, what kind of guidance would you have to our customers who are here at the summit?
Yes, I think Smita, that's a very important point. We all see the benefits from it, and we are all excited by it. But we need to really get the full picture and make sure that we use it responsibly. And I'm thinking of users like me, but also companies, and also, I mean, customers and other organizations. And maybe just to illustrate the point, you can make the test on ChatGPT or Bard and ask it, for example, what is the capital of Australia? So it's gonna answer Canberra. And later you ask, what is the largest city in Australia? And it might incorrectly respond Canberra as well. While you know it's Sydney the largest. Just because those big models, sometimes confund what is the capital and the largest city, because it's very often used in the same context.
Yeah.
So the inaccurate information, inconsistent information, we need to be aware that this is happening in those systems, because they are just mathematical systems at the end of the day. Again, they don't understand what they talk about. Ask it, for example, what's the time? It's going to tell you, I mean, it should ask us where you located, the time of what, the time now, or the time of, okay. And so that's the reason why very often we get this message that comes back that is, I'm sorry, I cannot provide this because I'm just a large language model, for example. Another test that you can do is ask it to give you the story of a medical doctor. And here you will very often see that the language model will tell you he or him for the doctor. And here we can see the biases that can be hidden in those models. Because here we are, I mean, those models have been trained on human data. So any of the biases that we have humans are in those data and hence generated also through these models.
Yeah, I mean, these are great points, right? I mean, so I think, like, I feel like I use them the same way. I think of them as an assistive tool, but not as the end all, right? Like, so, so there is still work for humans to do. Humans they can use it to help them, but after that, they have to make sure, they have to do their own work to make sure that it is actually, they're putting forth the right things, right? So, so it's helpful, but it's not an end all, like what you say. Exactly. But what does that mean? I mean, what does this mean for organizations? So if I'm a company and I want to actually, what should I do? I mean, should I have my employees experiment with it? I mean, how should I even train my employees to be more productive and take benefit? Like, what should I do as an organization in these times?
That's a very important question and this is the question that all companies should be asking themselves nowadays. Now that those technologies are available, if they don't do it now, their competitors are doing it and they are taking an advantage on them. Before getting into how they can do that, I think this new technology is an opportunity for us to cultivate new skills. And especially one skill, which is the only question that technology can't answer, which is how do we question what is given back by technology to us? How do we make sure it is reliable? How do we make sure it gives us the full picture? So it's this critical thinking component of us. We need to work on it. We need to work even more than before because we are given some information, as you mentioned, Smita, that we think is the truth, but it is not.
It seems very credible. Yeah.
Sometimes it is, but sometimes it is not as well. So we have to be able to criticize, to question, to take the perspective. And when we say that schools, all this story around schools, should they use ChatGPT? I believe that yes, they should use it because first of all, ChatGPT will be here for a long time and they will impact the work of our kids in the future. So they need to be able to work with it, and the skill they need to build at school in order to work well with ChatGPT is this critical thinking, questioning what is it true, is it not true, and finding the ways to answer those true or not true questions. I think that's really critical. And in companies, back to your point, in companies, I think companies should encourage building those skills. Okay, so it can be courses, lessons, training around questioning what is the right way to prompt, what is the right way to check the answer that is given by those systems. On top of this, your point was about how can companies really grab all the benefits from those technologies? How can they infuse those technology and bring impact? I think it's a lot about, first of all, creating a dynamic and inspiration and motivation around this. And I think more or less we are all there. So there is, we are all there. Secondly, it's about educating the people on what are those systems, where they can be useful and how they can use it. For this, you can find a lot of material on the web, but you can also build your own, and this is what I recommend, build your own task force around this expertise. And and have them to evangelize and educate within the company, department by department, encouraging people to identify areas of their work, day-to-day work, where they can use those technologies, and help them then implement those technologies, but also identify what are the business case behind that. So what are the benefits they will get from the company that can be quantitative and money driven, but also for the collaborators on motivation and fulfilling work that we can create.
Great. Yeah, no, thank you. I love that idea. Create a task force, start working on it in whatever fashion, whether it's department, but you're also saying you cannot sit it out. Like, you have to start helping your organization develop these kind of skills and figure out how to best utilize these. There is some talk about, like, of course, there's talk about what kind of opportunity. You talked about critical thinking, like, organizations really need to develop the critical thinking talent. But there's also, how will the jobs shift? If we talk about, there's talk about how many jobs will potentially be eliminated, but also new kind of jobs will be created. So again, I'm an organization, I'm the head of IT, I'm the business decision maker. How should I be thinking about shaping my workforce based on what's going on?
That's extremely important. That's a very important question. I think we should, and the answer starts with a principle. I think we should consider our relationship with technology like a duo, like we work with the colleague or with the partner. And the same as, when we used to work in groups at school, usually we would choose people in our group that would be complementary to us in terms of skills. So for example, one is good at presenting orally and the other one is more analytical and will prepare the presentation on the computer. And we always try to find those complementarity and avoid redundancies. So avoid having two people being very good at presenting. Okay. So, and it's exactly the same way that you should consider this relationship with technology, looking for complementarities to create synergies basically with technology. And how do we find that? You will ask me. It's identifying what technology will never be good at. It's identifying where we as humans will always have the edge. And when we talk about this, what makes us very different from technology are anything that is coming from our emotions. Emotions are something that technology will never be able to master. Emotions are coming from our own stories, our own experiences. They're coming from our personality, our cultural backgrounds, whatever we've learned in our life. And this is something that technology by definition, can't have. And emotions are very important because they determine our intuition, what we like, what we don't like. They determine what we love as well, but also our values and they are a foundation for the three main skills of the future, in my view. The first one is creativity, and I'm thinking here of real creativity. I'm not thinking about as those large language model or generative AI is doing, combining existing components, but I'm thinking here of creativity. This is really about creating new components, okay, not just reusing existing ones. The capability, the second key skill of the future is the capability to build relationship with others. This again, technology will never be able to do that better than us because we have this empathy. We have these skills of communication. We know what another human is expecting, basically. And the third key skill is about critical thinking. And I think we talked about it when we talked about questioning the outcome of those systems.
Yeah. I love it. So give AI a seat at the table, know what it is good at and know what it's not good at, and learn through experimenting and through task force and evolve from there. So really, we are in the middle of this like tremendous learning going on, but be curious and embrace that learning. So at Zoom, we really, really believe in human connections. We say our mission is to really one platform delivering limitless human connections. That's really important to to really think how we all should be living and working. When you think of the new world of AI and you think of our mission, how can the world with generative AI actually strengthen human connections? Any thoughts on that?
Yes, I think it's mainly three key components for a company like you with a product that like Zoom. It's about, as we discussed just before now, creating a relationship. So fostering this capability, this skill of creating relationship. The second is about supporting decision making and especially
mendukung pengambilan keputusan dan khususnya dalam kelompok. Dan ketiga, mendorong komunikasi dan informasi. Saya kira tiga komponen kunci itu bisa sangat diperkuat dengan large language models, dan menurut saya ini tengahnya kekuatan Zoom dan memberi layanan yang tidak ada di tempat lain. Saya sangat suka. Terima kasih Pascal atas percakapan ini. Terima kasih untuk berbagi pikiran tentang bagaimana kita bisa semua tentang
continu하게 해야 된다는 얘기를 해주셨습니다. 계속해서 배우고 더 탐색해보고 그리고 비즈니스와 인간관계를 단 단계 더 발전시켜야 된다고 얘기를 해.
Going where this wonderful world of technology continues to take us and challenge us at this moment. So thank you so much. I encourage everyone to actually subscribe to Pascal. I'm a follower of Pascal and I love what I get over there. So, so thank you everyone again for being here. It's a pleasure to have you here, Pascal, and to talk to everyone.
Thank you, Smita.
And welcome everyone. Very, very excited and happy to have you here for our session today on using AI across the customer journey. We're very fortunate to have three world-renowned experts on the panel today to give us their perspectives and insights into this very fast emerging and exciting space. And I'd like to begin today by having them introduce themselves so that you know who's going to be on the panel. So let's start with Robin Garris of Metrigy. Robin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Mahesh. So hello, everybody. My name is Robin Garris. I'm CEO of Metrigy. We're a research company, and I conduct a lot of research around the customer experience and, really just CX kind of space, focusing very heavily in the AI space. Obviously, when you look at customer experience, one of the big areas of focus right now is AI. So excited to be here today to talk about this.
Great. We are thrilled to have you here, Robin. Next, I'd like to have JP Gounder from Forrester introduce himself. JP?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm a vice president and principal analyst on Forrester's Future of Work team. I've been looking at AI for the better part of a decade, and it infuses everything. And today I'm going to talk about the agent experience as well as the customer experience.
Great. And last but certainly not least, Nancy Rademacher, who's a digital expert and renowned speaker. Nancy, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm Nancy Rademacher. I'm based in the Netherlands, and I've spent most of my career in IT in the past. And since 7 years or so, I'm a professional keynote speaker on topics like customer centricity, so both covering customer experience and employee experience, innovation and AI. And I also do regular sessions for international business schools on these topics.
Excellent. And I am very honored to be the moderator today. So I'll introduce myself briefly. I'm Mahesh Ram. I am the head of digital customer experience here at Zoom, heading up a number of AI products and services here at Zoom. I was the founding CEO of Solvvy, which was a leader in the conversational AI for customer experience space. And we were acquired by Zoom about a year ago, and have been working with AI and AI technologies for a better part of 7 years, building businesses in this space. So, but today, my main job is to ask the questions that allow our experts to show you, to guide us on what they're seeing in the market. So let's jump right in. And I'd like to direct the first question to Robin. Robin, can you talk a little bit about AI and generative AI? You know, these buzzwords and these terms that everybody is talking about. Can you help our customers or our participants understand the difference between the two terms?
Yeah, and that's a great question and a challenging one because people have written books on it and and done whole semester long courses on it, right? But really, when you think of it, if you try and boil it up and make it as simple as possible, the purpose of AI, just as a general term, and generative AI, the purpose is really the same. It's to simplify and automate manual tasks. And when you look at the terminology themselves, or the two terms, AI is basically sort of the broad umbrella term. Generative AI is a type of deep learning, which is part of artificial intelligence as the umbrella term. So when you think about generative AI, which is what we've been hearing all about lately with ChatGPT and other, emerging algorithms and other emerging capabilities when it comes to generative, is it basically creates new content. So whether it's text, whether it's music, whether it's software code, it could be artwork, based on these deep learning models. So it's trained on language or music or code or whatever you're looking at. But the key point, I think, with generative is it's not trained on truth. It's really based on, and it's sort of like statistical probability. So the best example that I can share is when you text on a mobile device, you see on the top there are options for the next possible word, right? You're typing, hey, do you, and you might have want as one of your options. You can just click on want. Well, generative AI sort of does the same thing, except it predicts and generates the next 4,000 words, in the large language models, based on learned patterns. So, generative it's kind of more limited than the whole umbrella AI. It's kind of more limited in what it does because it does only what it's trained to do. It does what the models train it to do, basically. And it also can be much more conversational than just the umbrella term AI. So when you think about general AI or machine learning, that can adapt to new conditions. It can think and reason more. It uses techniques like, for example, natural language processing, which is one we hear a lot about in the CX world. And it really just detects patterns. It classifies data, and it really can make decisions. So I think that those, from my perspective anyway, that's how I kind of differentiate them. So I don't know if, anybody else might have, JP or Nancy, if you guys have any other thoughts on that.
Yeah, Forrester's perspective is very complementary to what Robin just said. AI as a broad set of tools, it's really about attempting to mimic the way that humans think. And it is not perfect at that, right? I mean, we are not at the point where we're replicating a human brain or thought process, but it is able to use experience and learning to kind of mimic human intelligence in these different contexts. Generative AI, by contrast, as Robin said, is a slice of the overall artificial intelligence landscape. And the word generative is very key. It is generating text, video, images. Sometimes it's doing this in magical ways, as we've seen in the last 6 months when people have been just dazzled by the capabilities. In other cases, maybe it's doing stuff that we don't want so much, like generating misinformation or creating really strange videos. So generative AI, we're still at the beginning of this journey in a sense, but it is an exciting and powerful subsegment of the broader AI picture.
Got it. And Nancy, maybe I'm going to pivot the question slightly towards, all of you are experts in this field, but Nancy, starting with you, what questions are you getting most often today from CX and support leaders about AI these days?
Well, I think the most important question is how to use generative AI to personalize the customer experience, create more targeted marketing campaigns, for example. So, based on patterns and trends that, are discovered by analyzing customer data, by applying algorithms, create personalized, for example, product recommendations or personalized marketing messages, personalized emails, maybe social media posts. So all tailored to the customer's preferences and interests. I think that's what we see. And I think that's a big transition from companies using personas and segmentation these days to really evolving towards segments of one, where it's actually targeted to one individual. The other thing that I hear a lot is about automating repetitive tasks for the people providing the customer experience. But I think, maybe we'll get into that a little bit later, but also kind of becoming the assistant to, provide this customer experience, the assistant for the employee, basically. So creating these recommendations, but also creating slide decks on the fly, based on product specs, for example, using the best photos on your individual computer. But it could also be about, helping you to quickly analyze spreadsheet data in natural language, stuff like that. Customer retention is another area where leaders are questioning the use of generative AI. And I think, again, here, analyzing patterns and predicting a high risk of churn and then come up with personalized recommendations can help. And of course, there's always leaders that are primarily concerned about the business case. So how to measure effectiveness of generative AI systems and, what metrics should we be tracking? I think those are some of the most important questions that I've been hearing.
Yeah, JP, I want to follow up on that last point by Nancy. What are Forrester clients asking you about how to measure the impact, or what questions do they have about how do they get the most out of these new technologies?
Well, certainly building a business case is very important. And I think when you peel back that onion, it has all these sub-questions. So what are the benefits that you're aiming with any given generative AI deployment? What are the benefits you're attempting to capture out of that? Some of them may be customer facing. Some of them may be employee facing. I tend to work on the latter more than the former, but they're all wrapped up in one business case in most cases. What also are the risks of doing this? What are the preconditions that we need to put in place to avert some of those risks? So, for example, we are often asked about how are our employees going to uptake, this new solution? And the truth is, it rather depends on how you architect that experience and how you make their workflow different. A couple other things we're getting questions on are, the sort of hype levels here. Like, is this real? How quickly can we bring it to bear to solve real problems? What are some of the, aside from risks, sort of the compliance dimensions of all of this? And finally, people are still just trying to figure out what are the most successful instances? What are those moments where we can inject some generative AI into a workflow to make it actually really much more successful?
That's a great point, JP. And I'll add one of our experiences with Zoom Contact Center and the digital experiences that a lot of customers are asking us, what do I need to have in place in order for this technology to work successfully? What knowledge do I need to gather? How do I need to structure it? And in order for that technology to perform at its best. So I think very much in line with what you said. Robin, any other perspectives to offer on this one?
Yeah, Nancy and JP certainly covered a lot of the areas for sure. One I would say that we do get a lot is questions around staffing. In a contact center, which is sort of the core of your customer communications, staffing and everything employee facing with the agents is really a big deal right now. So how can I use AI, for example, to improve the accuracy of my forecasting for my scheduling and my capacity planning? That's a big one that we see. I want to make sure I've got the right people, not only the right number of people, but the right skill set in place at the right time of the day, right day of the week, all that. Also using AI to analyze performance of the agents. So things like sentiment analysis, NLP, giving them regular and automated training sessions that bring in this information. I mean, with the ultimate goal there of reducing turnover, because we still have way too high of turnover in the CX world. Definitely prioritizing just the types of AI. There's all different types of AI that you can implement. And we really saw a couple of years ago, large companies trying to boil the ocean, and they weren't seeing the business success that smaller companies were seeing who just did very isolated and conservative rollouts of, say, one chatbot, one virtual assistant on a very narrow use case, and they were seeing the huge success, where you see these larger companies who were trying to boil the ocean and they were not seeing success. So that's another one we talk a lot about. And then, yes, I think Nancy first brought up, connecting the dots basically between the use of AI and business success. And what we typically see there is companies looking at revenue, customer satisfaction, operational costs, and employee efficiency. Those 4 metrics are pretty key.
Great. I think a lot of changes, I think, very rapidly as well. So I think customers are all adapting to the new normal and trying to understand how they can build a business case. And JP, a lot of the action or the activity has been around agent experience, even historically with the first wave of AI. But let's talk about what you at Forrester are most excited about or intrigued about in terms of using AI to improve agent experience and agent performance and productivity.
So I mentioned that really customer experience and agent experience have to be kind of 2 sides of the same coin. And customers want agents who can answer all of their questions. They want to get resolution to their problems. They also want to feel like maybe the agent has the authority to do something for them. And to Nancy's earlier point, personalize their experience a bit. So with that kind of customer set of goals, we want to use this technology to make things better, more effective. Robin mentioned efficiency, employee experience. All of those things can be improved. And maybe there's a few buckets, of things going on here. I'd say, first of all, we want to analyze all of the contact center conversations. Right. So conversational intelligence helps us to figure out where we are being successful, where we are being unsuccessful. Nancy mentioned affective analysis, emotional analysis, being able to also determine like, hey, is the set of questions, going in a certain way, understand the script, all of that. AI makes that so much more capable for an organization to optimize. Secondly, it would be scoring agents' interactions and how they're performing automatically with intelligence, with natural language, unteasing all of those factors. Because my colleague Christina McAllister has said in her research that only 1% to 3% of all contact center interactions are actually tracked manually. And so if you're going from 1% to 3% to, being able to really look at most or all of them, that's incredible. So you're going to get a much greater depth of knowledge about that. And then the third one is kind of my favorite, which is augmenting the capabilities of the agent themselves, right? Giving them new tools that happen in the moment, often in real time, trying to make that as effective as possible. You could have knowledge that's surfaced on a panel on your screen. And of course, we've had that for a period of time where you could get documents and things that were relevant. But now adding generative AI can actually say, okay, rather than giving you documents that are relevant, we're going to summarize them. We're actually going to listen to the conversation and figure out what is the piece of knowledge out of all of that will be useful. Now, we may not be able to do all of that right this minute, today, everywhere, but that is a very powerful feature. And by the way, these agents who are able to demonstrate expertise in these moments, they have a better employee experience. They actually have a much better day. They feel more successful. And that has secondary benefits like lower attrition, better customer service, more efficiency. And so, all of these things together say we can really analyze all the data about these interactions and then give tools to make them better.
Great. Nancy, over to you. Any further thoughts on
I think
response from JP?
Yeah, one thing I might add is that we now also see these AI MCs or AI mediated conversations, and those can greatly help improve the experience as well. So it refers to what automated call routing solutions that use emotion AI and voice data to match the customer to the best suited agent or to handle a specific conversation. And what makes conversations using AI MC so special is that in more cases, conversation flow happens, and that's where the conversation is really comfortable for both of them, effortless, smooth. And so when you experience conversational flow, according to research that has proven that the perception of the quality of service is better. So it's a much better service perceived by the customer, and customer satisfaction in general goes up as well. And adding to JP's point, not less important, it also serves the agents, because they seem more motivated, or they are more motivated because they are matched to customers that fit their own personal traits. And it's always nicer to deal with someone that you have a match with. You automatically, provide a better experience to the customer, but it's also a better experience for you as an employee as well. And so the buy-in for employees to use this is really great. And next to that, I think also what JP said, in the moment, AI can help you as an agent to give you real-time feedback on whether you talk for too long, don't leave enough pauses for the customer to really interact with you, or gives you nudges on what the sentiment with the customer is, so that you can kind of apply this directly, because you have to take care of all these things about the content, the knowledge that you are going to provide them with, but also at the same time taking in their emotions and respond in a good way. So all of these things happen together for the agent. And I think AI is definitely a great support in that space.
Somebody described it really well to me. They said, if AI can help take the wisdom of the crowd of my best agents and make it easy for every agent in my enterprise to have ready access to that information, everybody's experience is better. The company's experience, the agent's experience, and the end user's experience. And I thought that was a good summation of what the potential is done well, if it's done well. So let's switch gears a little bit. Robin, we talked about agent productivity, and certainly that's a very important part of anybody's strategy in the contact center and customer service. But self-service automation is critical today to success. Consumers expect it. They demand it in many cases. And these conversational chatbots have been there for a while. And obviously I'm passionate about it myself. They've been leveraging AI for some time, but what sort of impacts are the latest AI advancements doing in this area of improving customer experience or end user experience? Are customers willing to turn to virtual agents more commonly? What are you seeing in the market?
I think it depends. I think it depends on how well the virtual agents are working. I think it depends on what they need to what do they need to do? Do they really need to talk to somebody? Oftentimes you don't. Oftentimes you can get everything done that you need, either in self-service or with a virtual assistant. I found it interesting. I read actually a study that Zoom conducted with Morning Consult. It was 2,200 people, just sort of general population, adults in the US. It was conducted last fall. And the data on this one, honestly kind of surprised me in a good way, because it showed me that, okay, we're moving in the right direction here. 67% of consumers have used chatbots at least once in the past year. So that's good. And 42% were comfortable with them. I honestly would say that was unheard of 3 years ago, just that short of time ago. We have definitely come a long way. In fact, in the same study, 81% of users said that their most recent support experience was positive. So again, definitely heading in the right direction. In our research, we generally talk to the IT, CX, and business leaders of companies. So another really good example, when we ask companies, where do you get your best customer satisfaction? I don't think it's too surprising that the highest percentage said voice. It was 39%. They said, yeah, we get our best customer satisfaction in voice if we only have to pick one place. But 32% said it's either in a self-service channel or in a virtual assistant text channel. So that also kind of surprised me, again, in a good way. It's showing me that, yes, people are using virtual assistants. They're using AI and self-service. They're, FAQs, maybe having a virtual assistant help there. And that was not the case. Like I said, just a couple of years ago, that wasn't the case. So I do think that they'll use virtual assistants when they're done well, when they're done for the right reasons. For example, rescheduling a service call or maybe managing a warranty claim. And when we ask companies what the top driver is for them to use AI in customer interaction specifically, so that customer facing side, it is in fact to improve customer ratings. So as companies are doing this, they're saying we're seeing an improvement in our ratings. 48%, the top highest percentage said that's why they're doing it, and that's the result they're seeing. So I'll wrap up with just saying that when companies are successful, they absolutely do see measurable improvements. And we ask about this in our research. So, for example, companies who were using conversational AI, virtual assistants, saw a 27% improvement in their customer ratings. They saw a 21% improvement in revenue, a 16% overall reduction in OpEx, and a 23% improvement in agent productivity. Those are great results, and we're really starting to see that business value emerge. And I think it's not just, and it's not just that they're doing it because, hey, I want to do a virtual assistant because everyone else is doing it. They find a good business reason to do it. I think self-service is a big area. In our research, almost 70% of companies say that they need either significant or incremental improvements to self-service. And 1/3 of those are using AI to help determine whether self-service is even the right place for a customer to come in to get resolution. So, I just see a lot of all of these research indicators are pointing in the direction that it's really working and it's making a difference in the customer side of things.
Yeah, I would just add one thing that's also another phenomenon that has made this much more effective is the rise of API availability. So what Absolutely. You have is a lot of the services that deliver that personalization that Nancy talked about, that understands who I am, is now available in an API format, so that in a virtual agent, you can understand the intent using AI. You can then say, what do I need to learn from Robin or JP about why they're here and what their issues are specific to their situation. I can look up APIs. I can make conditional decisions, much in the way that a first-line agent might do. And that leads to a much better experience for the consumer. So I think that the AI plus API is probably a phenomenon as well worth noting. I want to make sure that we have a little bit of time left, and I want to cover a couple of topics that I think are front and center in a lot of customers' minds, especially the sophisticated ones. And Nancy, I want to start with you. Is so much we've talked all about the exciting stuff, the things that are coming and that are propelling all these gains that Robin talked about, but not without risks, right? There's certainly some risk. What do you see as the areas that leaders need to be very aware of in terms of risks as they start to explore all these new technologies and generative AI?
Yeah, well, typically, I think there's a lot of fear for the unknown. So one of the major concerns of leaders is how can they keep up to date with everything that's going on and make sure that they leverage cutting edge solutions. So that's one thing. But I think one thing I would like to focus on first is that the generative AI that most of us think of today, like ChatGPT, it works with large language models, but typically they were built upon data available on the internet. But for companies to get most out of generative AI, I think it's crucial that they are trained on company data. So, and I think as with any application of AI in general, there's still a lot of room for improvement there, because I know that only 1% of industrial data is being used today. And another complicating factor is that most of the insights we could gather from our data are still residing in silos across geographies, across departments, or even across applications. So that's one part. The other part, the risk and the fear that's going on, that's kind of, about different things. So one of them is misinformation. Generative AI has the ability to generate really highly convincing fake images, videos, texts, or what have you, that can be used to spread misinformation or disinformation. Also, something like called hallucination, we can maybe discuss here, which is generating a plausible sounding response, which is actually very inaccurate. So that's one thing that's causing fear. Another one is bias, because it's trained on these large data sets. And by the way, this goes for all types of AI. If you have bias in your data sets, you will have bias in your algorithm or your generative AI system too. It's bias in, bias out, right? Thirdly, I think privacy is also a very big concern. Now, in Europe, for example, Italy recently banned ChatGPT over privacy concerns. Now, they're back in the open right now, so it's allowed again because they've put in some guardrails in place there. But I think, the concern is that since it requires so much data, that there is, some privacy sensitive data included there as well. And then I think another concern for many is the concern of ownership and copyright. So recently in Europe, a photographer who won a contest confessed that he had generative AI generated photos. So it wasn't his work. So the data from various artists like photographers, painters, music writers, even singers, they are used to train the model. Then the model will generate new outputs. And then, of course, the question arises, what about ownership? And what about copyright? So those are different things. And it's I think, ethical considerations are some of them that are important as well. So how can we make sure that if we apply generative AI, that it's aligned with our own company's values and that it doesn't harm or discriminate against groups of people, for example? And I think one big responsibility for governments or for larger bodies like over here in the EU is to provide these frameworks with the necessary guardrails for future development. And I think that's something that we need to be mindful of. And that's something that, leaders have top of mind as well.
Thank you, Nancy. JP, obviously the regulatory environment's changing and that's dynamic, but from a customer perspective, when you're the Forrester client base, what are some of the risk areas that you're counseling them to pay particular attention to, or any examples of areas where you're asking to be particularly careful?
Well, I'll give you a very particular example. I recently heard from someone I spoke with. They said, generative AI can be very democratizing, right? You give this tool to everybody and they can use it. And that's all well and good. But if two experts on the phone or two contact center agents on the phone use it for the same question, they're not going to get the same answer, right? So you need to have in place a broader knowledge management strategy. Otherwise, what you're risking is actually giving slightly different answers to different customers, or even to the same customer if they came in at two different times, because that's just sort of how generative AI works. It's kind of impressionistic. So ultimately, you need to have a pretty good overall knowledge and data management strategy to make sure that you're avoiding the worst excesses and risks that Nancy was talking about.
Excellent. Perfect. And I know we have time for one more question that's a critical question, and I'm going to throw it to Robin to kick us off. Robin, what will it take for companies to benefit the most from this generative AI revolution? What are you seeing out there, and what guidance can you offer for companies to really maximize the return on this?
I think a few things. Go forward, do it, but don't rush. And again, like I said before, try and boil the ocean. Be very deliberate about what you're doing. Make sure you're addressing a business opportunity or business problem. Don't just do it to do it. Make sure you have a reason for doing it. Recognize that you need huge amounts of data for this to be successful. But as we've seen companies think about, you want to have some bumpers to be able to, put around some of the data. And companies are working on this. Like right now, something like ChatGPT is trained on, all the data on the public internet, which is huge, up to whatever 2021 or something. So I mean, that's huge. But if you think about wanting to use generative AI in your own knowledge base so that someone can come in and ask a question, you want to be able to put a bumper around the data that generative AI is using, that it's not looking at the entire public internet, but just your knowledge base. Then you have a much higher degree of confidence that what's coming out of this is truthful. Because remember, generative AI is not trained on truth. It's just trained on the content. So you want to make sure that you've got truth there. And I think bumpers around the data set as we move forward is going to be a big way that we make this more successful. So make sure also that you have ways to check that what information is going out, especially to customers, is truthful. So whether that means a human, at least initially, has to check on things, or whether you have a virtual assistant checking on facts, make sure that it's factual. We definitely are seeing some really good results from companies as they just get started. We're seeing companies, like one company, for example, is using just a regular old AI virtual assistant to handle a warranty claim. It's a high-tech company. They're using a variety of different AI, NLP, NLU, different tools to completely address a warranty claim. Outcome, 11% improvement in CSAT. AI is now closing more than 30% of all of their customer complaints for this warranty, and with 90% success and 25% reduction in staff needed. Now take that example and imagine what you can do adding generative AI to that that's truthful and complete, being able to share with that customer content that's relevant to them and what they need to do next, on what they can expect from product enhancements, summarizing the whole long string of their chat. Those kinds of things will be really useful moving forward.
Thank you, Robin. I know we're right up against the clock, so I just want to take a moment to thank all of you, the three panelists, JP, Robin, and Nancy, for brilliant insights and really good, clear guidance to customers. Much to learn, much to do here in this space, but we are very, very fortunate to have the three of you on today to help get us started on that journey. Look forward to doing a follow-up in a few months when the world will probably change yet again, and we'll have new phenomenon to talk about in this world of AI. But thank you all, and hope that you all have a great rest of the week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Matthew Saxon. I am the Chief People Officer here at Zoom, and I am really thrilled about the conversation that we're about to have. And with me are three fantastic professionals in their fields, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, starting with you, Casey.
Hi, I'm Casey Santos. I'm the CIO of Assurion. We're a company that helps provide tech support and help you make the most of your tech globally, based in Nashville, Tennessee.
Excellent. It's great to have you here. Dave.
Hi, I'm Dave Strickland, and I'm the Vice President of Telehealth and Care at Home for Kaiser Permanente. So we have accountability for video visits, remote patient monitoring, online physical therapy, and a lot of our digital interactions with members.
Excellent. Great to have you here. And Jason, over to you.
Thanks, Matthew. Jason Averbrook. I'm a senior partner here at Mercer, responsible for our digital HR strategies that we roll out. And when I say HR strategies, really it's the combination of HR and work strategies as we think about how do people work into the future. Really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you all. I'm going to jump straight into it because I know we've got a lot of interesting content to cover. Casey, I'll ask you the first question. We hear a lot of hype about AI and how it's revolutionizing the world around us and the workplace and customer experience and these sorts of things. I'd love to know what you're seeing within your own organization about how you're leveraging AI to improve candidate and employee experience.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting space. You're right. AI's been around for a while in various forms, and generative AI in particular for a few years. And so we have a few years started delving into using the technology to help our help desk for our IT, internal IT support. We started there to provide a self-serve chat bot that's a little more user-friendly and uses natural language to answer questions, resolve questions, proactively reach out if somebody's locked their password, things like that. And then they can get escalated to a human if they run into a stuck spot. But if you look at what we do for a living, our main bread and butter are our contact center experts and our field experts that go out to people's homes and help them set up their mobile devices or exchange devices or get help with their electronics. And what we're using it there for is to help prompt them so they can get to the answer more quickly, so we can serve on a more personal touch and get to the answer more quickly, which makes customers very happy. None of us want to sit and wait for the answer. So that's a couple of areas that we've already been delving into. Of course, there's a lot more now that the tools are getting better.
Terrific. Thank you. Dave, how about you at Kaiser?
Well, we've been, probably dipping our toes in AI for the last several years and doing a lot of what Casey was referencing too, which are taking some of those more administrative actions or self-service internally for folks that work at Kaiser Permanente. So we have a couple 100,000 employees nationwide. So we really need to serve the staff at the organization, but we're really looking to get outward facing too with our members. And a lot of that's around, how we can continue to be a trusted partner as we shift more digital. And in the last few years, with COVID, it's been transformative to all industries, but healthcare changed the way we work and also the work that we do. So a lot of what we're trying to do now is take some of the positive outcomes in terms of efficiencies that we've gained by leveraging technology and being able to deliver care remotely, and really help accelerate change and really furnish our physicians and clinical staff with tools that are going to help curate and manage information in a way that are going to help them provide really valuable and quality healthcare to our members in a timely fashion and in a way that hopefully anticipates more and more of the needs that folks have or will have, so that we can be more responsive and proactive to their needs.
Excellent. And Dave, what sort of specific use cases are you seeing popping up sort of right now that you're thinking about?
Well, a lot of it has to do with chat. So a lot of the asynchronous communications that we have, it might be in the form of an e-visit or a chat where folks are looking for, again, kind of a lower level interaction around, locations, service hours, how do I, reschedule an appointment, things of that nature, and really trying to build into the clinical conversations, which are inherently more complex and really do need that live interaction with folks in most cases. But we're also seeing a lot more interesting studies from the marketplace and research that's talking about where we believe AI is going to go for people and for the different generations too, especially Gen Z, that's getting more and more comfortable with interacting with AI knowingly. So there's more that we can build into, and that's where a lot of our energy is today. But the use cases are some of those that I just mentioned.
Excellent. Jason, I know you're close to sort of the employee experience, which is near and dear to my heart. Tell me about what you're seeing with some of your customers and clients out there in terms of how they're starting to think about and use AI.
Yeah, thanks, Matthew. What's fascinating to me is that truly generative AI and artificial intelligence, and Casey and David brought this up, while they've been around for a while, this is really new to HR thinking. And I think it's really new to HR thinking because what we've seen with ChatGPT is the first time we've actually seen it come to life in reality. And when I say come to life, it's been out there in spell check, and it's been out there in helping me navigate, the best way to get through traffic. But to truly see it create experiences for employees, managers, leaders, for people that are doing work, ChatGPT really opened that for one of the first times. So we're seeing it in lots of different places, lots of different use cases, back to your question, Matthew. And I think I'll just frame all of it before we get into the use cases around this. People always ask, when are machines going to replace people for good? And I've always said that's never going to happen. But what is important to understand is there's three types of work. There's hands work, there's heads work, and there's hearts work. And really, where machines are going to start to replace people, or where AI is going to replace people, is that hands work, and really get functions in business out of doing that hands work so they can focus more on that heads work and hearts work.
Jason, can you talk a little bit, when you say hands work, what specifically are you seeing from a sort of employee experience and HR functions?
So just the amount of time it takes to create content for a new learning course, for example, the amount of time it takes to create content for a new policy, the amount of time it takes to create content for a job description, something as easy as that. Those are things that would take hours that are being cut down to minutes, very, very quickly. And, that's the basic hands work, which is the research. It allows me to then take a heads work, which is really tying it to my business, and a hearts work, driving empathy into it based on what my business is going through to make it a reality. So a lot of that research, a lot of the transactional stuff is hands work. When we think about some of the things that David and Casey brought up about chatbots, chatbots have been around for a while. But the reason that they haven't been used is people have either seen them as creepy or crappy. And one of the things that's fascinating when we think about that is to say, wow, I'm actually getting right answers now, hopefully. Right answers. So I start to trust these tools. A lot of the work that we were doing in the function was hands work because I was answering the phone because the chatbot didn't work. So it's starting to replace a lot of that transactional work overall. And then truly just the concept of thinking about what do I do when it comes to basic correspondence, communication, personalization. I know you now, Matthew. I know you now, David. I know you now, Casey. And AI can allow me to personalize like never before content based on who you are, where you've been, what you do, and where you're going in an organization. Once again, stuff that would take me forever from a research content before. So if we really think about those cases, learning, training, talent, job descriptions and knowledge management, and really communication, AI has changed where someone just wanted one intranet or portal 3 months ago to the fact where today organizations are literally prioritizing generative AI as the number one thing that will make or break their employee experience going forward.
I love that term, creepy or crappy. It's a good one. I'm curious then about what does this mean for the employees in your companies, your organizations, because some of what you're all just talking about is like really fun and exciting and interesting. And there's other parts of it that could be either creepy or could be frankly scary for certain people. And so maybe David, I'll start with you. How are you thinking about how AI might impact people's roles, entire jobs at Kaiser and sort of other organizations, and how are you thinking about preparing the organization for that?
Well, I think that one of the ways just the internet in general has affected the patient interaction with a physician is people are coming in much more informed than they ever have been. That's not always good information or right information, but they're going out there, they're getting themselves armed with information so they can have a more, valuable interaction with their clinician. We've been trying to, always work with the members in a proactive fashion, kind of help them curate their content like I talked about earlier. But really, we're going to have to change as a workforce too, to understand what's available to our members to help personalize and share content with them. Sometimes before they're asking for it, sometimes in response to inquiries as well. But a lot of that requires change management on our end. And so when we went through a conversion to electronic medical records, that happened primarily across the country in this century. That kind of speaks to the maturity of where we are with some of the technology-based workflows. So we got folks who are very skilled clinicians, but we don't have a lot of history yet really leveraging and maximizing technology. So part of it is getting folks to look at these things as tools that are going to help accelerate and accentuate the care. And, the questions I'm getting now or that I'm feeling now are so much different than the ones I got even just 3 or 4 years ago. We were talking about AI with some of the physician leaders. It used to be, look, if you're talking about AI, can you tell me if I'm going to get like Arnold Schwarzenegger from the first Terminator movie or Arnold Schwarzenegger from the second Terminator movie? And the answer is really, it's like my answer was very dissatisfying to folks. I'd say it's both. It's really what that AI is conditioned to do. It's how well we've trained it. And it's also what your level of comfort is. And I think ChatGPT has been so transformative lately because we haven't had to explain things as much in the abstract to somebody. Explaining technology to somebody in the abstract is really hard because you can't see it, feel it, taste it, smell it, and they just have to process it. And if you're not technologists to begin with, it's pretty complicated. Now, ChatGPT, people can go and literally play. And that is a generative learning experience when you do that. And so I think that there is less kind of generalized fear out there. And now the conversation shifting much more to an opportunity-based one, which is, what can this thing do for me? How can I better leverage it? And as an organization, we're also recognizing if we don't leverage this tool really, really effectively, other folks are going to do so, and they're going to create more value in their relationship with their members. So we do really feel an urgency, and a lot of that is going to come back to training, to change management. I mentioned earlier before, we moved from paper records to electronic medical records, and one of the big fears that people had was, what about my job? And in the end, we had, like a lot of organizations, got a lot more people today than we did 15 or 20 years ago, because managing the infrastructure that we have is pretty significant. It required a lot of retraining. We have a lot of new roles that didn't exist 20 years ago are pretty vital to the organization today. And that's probably a constant in the workforce as you continue to evolve over time. So we're gonna continue to see that, and our goal is to really to meet the technology where the opportunity is, and to provide a lot of value to our members.
That's awesome. Casey, I'd love to get your perspective on this, and also in terms of how you are thinking about this change and how to lead your organization through this. Are there scary parts to this, or not? And I was sort of thinking about it as Dave was talking. If we had been having this conversation just 6 months ago, it probably would have been a very different landscape to what it is now. And I bet if we had this conversation in another 6 months, it might look different again, because the rate of adoption and change seems to be exponential right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think David said it well, but I think it used to be you'd have a bunch of data scientists that, were a special group that sat off to the side and were dreaming up and working with these tools. And now my son can write a song in Taylor Swift style on using ChatGPT. So it's amazing. It's become consumerized, right? So I think for us, it's a couple things. One is, we look at it as a way to augment the team and help us reach customers better, faster. If you think about it, it's a tight labor market. In call centers, I think the statistic is it takes with high turnover, it takes 6 weeks minimum to train someone up to take their first call. If you think about how much faster they can get to the answers, that they can be more helpful. So how do we think about that? And how do we get them, as we think about it from, I think about it kind of run, grow, and transform. I want to shift all that great energy we have into the things that help us grow and change our business. And looking up answers to how to do one particular thing, if we can make that faster, that'll help us shift that. But on the scary side, I think we're, data privacy and those things are going to start to, things we have to really think through. I know a lot of people are starting to, but it's hit the market so fast recently that I think we're lagging. And so we're going to figure out how you do that. And, the rule is going to be sort of like with your email, put it in the email unless, it could go out public. I think anything that goes into an AI model that's in this world could easily float back up. So we want to make sure that we're thoughtful about the things that are proprietary and, have our special sauce and how we use the right tools at the right place. So there's a lot of things to consider. And as David said, it's moving very quickly. So,
and Casey, as you think about all those things that you have to consider, how much of an imperative is this for you and for companies out there? Is this a nice to have, or is this a must have?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, over the past, if you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd have said, well, yeah, we're definitely leaning into it. Now it's an absolute imperative because it's now available so broadly, right? So every competitor, every company can go start to do this. And so I think it will be a differentiator, and those who embrace it and use it to differentiate themselves, and people that don't could be left behind a little bit, right? So it is very important to us.
Got it. So Jason, as I hear that, what Dave and Casey were talking about, and it sounds like this is moving into the imperative stage, although it's all still sort of early, and there's a lot of just newness here. How should organizations be thinking about how to introduce this kind of to their workforce?
Yeah, Matthew, it's a great question, and it's one that is still. I mean, we're still building. We as a humanity, to be honest with you, to use such a broad term, but we're still building because what we have, we all know this. We've got 5 generations of people working together. Some of those generations are digital immigrants. Some of those generations are digital natives. Some of them, these tools come naturally to continuous innovation, learning, experimentation, et cetera, et cetera. Others, change is hard. You know, we continue to look at this concept. It's 2023 outside of work. So how do my kids get stuff done today? But what year does it feel like inside of work? And what that requires is it requires something that, that I call changefulness, which is a mindset that's open to change, not traditional change management, which are, hey, here's how to use a tool, but truly changefulness. We're going to try, we're going to innovate, we're going to fail fast, we're going to try new things. And what we're seeing as a result of that is we're seeing some organizations, getting out there and doing pilots. Some organizations getting out there and doing encouraging experimentation. And then we're seeing other organizations that are taking kind of a traditional, whoa, we're going to block ChatGPT, or whoa, we're going to block generative AI, or hey, did you read that there's maybe a pause on AI? And I think we're going to be saved this time. These are the same people that said the internet wasn't going to change the world, or the same people that thought Y2K was going to change the world. So all of that being said, we're in a moment in time where we have to think about this concept of how are we as an organization going to use these tools based on how we want to work. It can't be a free for all. Okay. A. B, we're at a massive inflection point of what we call shiny object syndrome combined with that experimentation. So there's lots of tools. And people are like, hey, I have an idea. I just saw this demo. Casey, let's do this. David, let's do this. Hey, we've got the money. It's software as a service. I can put it on my credit card. And all that stuff is great. But the key component to the deployment of any of these tools is a solid foundation of data. Because when you see these demonstrations or you see these generative AI queries creating content, they're not doing it based on the fact that there's just like massive knowledge bases out there about each of our organizations. They're going to take the data that we have as an organization, use it, and then use that to create content. But if we don't have any data or our data is bad, guess what? Generative AI is going to be seen as bad. And when generative AI is seen as bad, just like when we download an app from the App Store that we don't like, what do? We delete it. Same thing's going to happen with generative AI. The first time I use it, it's not going to be good. And guess what? People are going to say, oh, I'm done with that. And that's the worst thing. We could squander one of the greatest technology innovations we've ever had if we don't think about this right. And the last thing I'll just say about that concept, Matthew, is it's really important to frame this up as minimum lovable product versus minimum viable product. If I just put a minimum viable product out there and hope that people bear with me and say, hey, guess what? It's going to get better. Guess what? It's going to get better. Guess what? It's going to get better. We've been doing that as enterprises for the last 40 years. And for the most part, it's not gotten better. So we really have to change our thinking and say phase 1 has to work. Phase 1 has to be minimum lovable, not minimum viable, because our audience has expectations unlike they've ever had before.
Yeah, it's a good point. And when you say it has to work, who does it have to work for?
It has to work for
employees, customers.
Oh, sorry. It has to work for the employee, the manager, the leader who doesn't speak HR, who doesn't speak IT. Like, I don't want to say to my generative AI thing, quote unquote, I'm having a dependent. I want to say I'm having a baby. What should I do? I don't want to say I want to change my address. I want to say I'm moving. Okay. I want to speak my language to it. So when I say it works, if I say I'm having a baby and the first thing that pops up is something that has nothing to do with what I just said, any 5,000 documents in my organization that had the word baby in it, guess what? People are going to run for the hills. So it's really speaking the language of I'll call it the human. Don't call them users, please. Language of the human. And that's really the key of human-centered design. Generative AI just gives us the ability to bring it one step closer to being truly human.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think it also gives us an ability to break down even internal silos. So when people are like, I need to do a XYZ life event, it's not, I have a question that is for the benefits team, or I have a question that's for the workspace team or the, IT team, that you can actually connect all of these things and have an integrated experience all at once, which is something that's always been hard to do.
Just really quickly on that line. I mean, one of the things so digital thinking breaks silos naturally, but what it requires is this east-west thinking instead of north-south thinking. And what the danger within our organizations is if every one of our COEs and goes out and buys their own chatbot. And just like before, I had to know which app to go to. Now I have to know which chatbot to go to. That will be a massive failure. So I have to think systematically, and I have to think east-west, not north-south.
Dave, on that point of like thinking east-west and sort of connecting things, and also data. I mean, you're in an organization that has very strict requirements on what you use data for and how you capture it, etc. How are you thinking about that when it relates to sort of generative AI?
Well, I think the point that Jason's bringing up is a pretty important one, and one that when the technology moves fast, we all see in one way or another, which is people are kind of grabbing what they can because they think it can solve an immediate problem. And it's totally understandable. And, the way that I think we can really help folks is to really focus on the problem we're trying to solve or in the opportunities that we can pursue. Otherwise, we are going to end up with this really complex and unwieldy landscape. And for the large organizations, what that means is you're just going to have people fighting over this. I found the best AI tool, and no, I did. And we got to go through that whole effort. But a lot of it, when you have a strategy and some real intent, you don't need to build the same knowledge base many times over. So in theory, all the interactions that we're having with whatever that constituent group is, and for us, again, we have a large internal constituent group and we have a really large external one too. And what's really wild is folks have always, they need to think differently because they've always thought, well, internal is like 100% different than external. What if it's not? What if for, 20% of the interactions we have, we also insure our own employees? So, and they're a great internal group for us to kind of research and to pilot and to try things out with. How do we make sure that the digital or the interactions that we manage through our call centers are really similar to the interactions that we manage through our digital and mobile means? It doesn't need to be separate. So a big part of the learning is probably the unlearning. And that may be, the hardest part is getting folks to let go of, these assumptions that we've held for such a long time. And they've proven so true until the point that they are not true anymore, or the instance in which they're not true, which is really probably the point that we've arrived at now with AI and generative AI.
When you were talking, it reminded me of that sort of age-old quote of your customer experience can't surpass your employee experience, and making sure that those two things are harmonious and in sync with each other, and have equal quality and investment to them, I think is really, really well made. I want to wrap by sort of thinking more broadly now and talking about what excites you about the future of this space. Over the next sort of year or two, and how do you think this can really transform how we get work done? Casey, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, this is going to unlock a lot of capabilities for us to reach people more easily or more effectively, and then also be able to move us away from doing the day-to-day, I guess, handwork, as Jason calls it, to really work on that more creative, more unique, what really separates us as businesses, as partners, as humans. So I think I'm really excited about that. I think the two things that Jason and David brought up went around the data is going to be key, right? Making sure we've got the right data to be effective, and that also that we can embed this in the right places where everyone is. So I'm excited about like thinking through an employee's journey, a customer journey. Where are the places that this most could affect, and how do we make sure that they can access it in the right way at the right time? I think that's going to be really powerful, and it'll relieve a lot of pain in a lot of areas that take way too long to do the handwork. I wish I could dream up all the places it's going to hit. If I did, I'd probably be a very wealthy lady. But it's going to be a fun journey to follow over the next few years and be part of.
Yeah, it certainly will. Well said. Dave, how about your thoughts?
So what's exciting to me is the really pursuing the work that we want to do. And Jason had, by the way, just a number of great terms and phrases to use. I love the hands work earlier, Casey just referenced too. A lot of work that we don't really want to do, and it's not really generating a lot of value. So to be able to automate that, simplify that is incredibly valuable. And the other thing that I think probably we all have an opportunity for is to pursue vital work for our organization. So in healthcare over the last few years, we've seen a lot of big changes and then a lot of reversion to the mean post-COVID, post-pandemic. And then there's a few things that haven't returned to the mean. And one that we've seen that is probably pretty consistent throughout the industry is asynchronous contact. So just sending an email to your doctor. People got really comfortable with that, and that volume hasn't really dropped off. So is there a way for us to, again, value add and driving good quality, continue to interact and engage with our members, or find ways to more intelligently route and answer some of the questions that are coming into us so that it reduces the burden on our clinical staff? That's so important. And when you have a real burning platform, folks tend to embrace the opportunity. And then really the thing that I think we all look forward to, and again, Jason said it earlier, is the personalization. Anytime you can tell a member or an employee, I know who you are and I know what matters to you, you're just deepening that relationship. And in a lot of industries, there's never been more choice or, an easier, opportunity to change and to make a different choice than there is today. So we need to continue to increase the bonding with our customers, with our members, and the generative AI is a huge opportunity for us to reflect back to people at the beginning of an interaction, like, we know who you are, and we're here for you. That is so powerful, and really has the opportunity to be a differentiator before it's a benchmark.
Excellent. I love that. Differentiator before a benchmark. Jason, bring us home. What are your thoughts on the future?
Yeah, Matthew, there's three key things I want to hit on. So the first thing is, I think we're finally in a position with generative AI to stop moving from one technology to another and doing the same thing that we've been doing. We call that technology transition versus truly doing digital and work transformation. If you think about the prefix trans means change. And I think we're finally, with generative AI, going to shift from changing technologies to changing work with technology. Before, we've just been changing technologies. We've gone from cloud, from on-prem to cloud, but still work's been the same. We're finally going to change the way work works, which I'm really, really excited about. The second thing is that it gives us the ability to truly design, like we talked about a few minutes ago, like we've never been able to. We've been collecting data I mean, let's just take HR, for example, just a small piece. We have more data in HR. Matthew, you've and I've been talking about this for 2 decades. Sorry to date us, but we have more data in HR than we've ever had. But to try to get an answer is impossible. Now, it doesn't make any sense logically, but it does make sense once you look at how we're storing data, what we're doing with data, and this becoming a layer to be able to help us get answers, not just to transact, but interact with that data is truly magical. And I'm really excited about it. And then the third thing, which I'm just really excited about personally, just because I'm a geek, is the concept of creativity. Like, I think it's really important for people to understand that AI is not going to replace people. AI might take the jobs of people who don't learn AI, but AI is not going to replace people naturally. Okay? The people that will win in this are people that learn how to use it and that don't run away from it being afraid that it's going to replace their jobs. Okay. So, I mean, and the creativity that goes into that, the skill, if you can build the skill in your organization, say, how can we leverage this new tool? Like, we have a new color of Play-Doh, or we've gone from a box of 16 crayons to a box of 64 crayons overnight. And look at the magic we can create. I think those organizations that take advantage of that will truly be, in the catbird seat going forward.
Yeah, well said. And you think about the opportunity to just be more efficient, to create better customer experiences, and to free up sort of hands work, as you said, I think is really exciting for employees, customers, and organizations. This has been a fascinating discussion. I want to thank my panelists, Jason, Casey, and Dave. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have. And with that, thanks again. Bye for now.
Thank you to our amazing speakers for their insights and learnings. It's clear from the conversations that AI will drive the future of collaboration. The impact of AI will only expand the capabilities of digital tools to help us all work better and smarter. If you want to know more about Zoom AI innovations and how you can collaborate happy on one AI-powered platform, we are happy to connect with you and your teams for further consultation. Please let us know your interest on the next step in our poll that will launch on your screen now. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing the incredible ways in which we can leverage AI to drive innovation and growth in the future. And stay tuned for more updates in the coming months. Thank you, and we will see you soon.